You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Good evening, welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'll be your host this week, Kev. You can follow me on Twitter at Dynasty_GOAT. With me tonight, another GOAT. He's the main man, Ali. You can follow you on Twitter at FF Dynasty Grill. Good evening, Ali. How are you?
Yeah, I'm looking rather red in the face. I've got a bit sunburned, should we say? It's been a balmy, nearly 30 degrees where I am in the UK, which is, it's not comfortable in the UK. The heat here is not like it is abroad. It's horrible, it's sticky. So, apart from that, I'm doing really good. Thank you. I've had a good weekend in the sun, and what way to finish it with a great guest tonight. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been the hottest day of the year in the UK, and we have got an amazing guest. Keep the heat, keep the fire. You will notice that our other co-host Matt is sadly not here tonight. He's just left Love Island in Mallorca, so hopefully he'll be back for the next show, depending on the jet lag, etc. So we'll look forward to having him back very soon. But yeah, before we get on to our amazing guests, we're just gonna recap a little giveaway we've got going at the moment and drum up some interest.
Yeah, little giveaway. There's quite a big giveaway, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
So we followed on from our charity streamathon last month now. So yeah, still anyone that's donating before the end of June is going to be entered into a prize draw. And this is the full list of prizes alphabetically. We've done it last week, but we'll do it again because they are great. So yeah, 5-yard rush, Fantasy Football Challenge Cup spot, and draft with friend analyst of your choice. DLF annual premium membership subscription, Dynasty Island bundle, rookie guide, survival kit, and roster review. Dynasty Rewind roster review, Dynasty Theory 1-year Discord access, Dynasty Trades in 5 roster review, Dynasty Warzone roster review, JWB Dynasty roster review, late round podcast draft guide, NFL T-Strack, so 3 times best ball reviews, player profiler all in one package, Dynasty Deluxe, DFS Dominator, the world famous draft kit, data analyst, and player rankings. We've got a Scott Fishbowl entry coming up, which we'll be doing shortly. There's a Tale of Two Rivals Dynasty roster review, and the Devi Royale Patreon subscription for 3 months, and Dynasty roster review. So lots of exciting prizes. Please keep on donating, and thank you to all the various brands that have donated these free prizes for the charity streamathon giveaway. The Scott Fishbowl draw will be done very soon, and the rest will be done in early July. So thank you very much.
Indeed. Little giveaway, massive giveaway. So thank you for correcting me on that, Ali. It's very exciting for all those brands to team up with us and give away some free stuff in the name of charity for Mind Charity supporting mental health. So fantastic cause. We're now ready for the main event. We've got an amazing guest on today, a podcaster and fantasy analyst, an unbelievable illustrator at MB Fantasy Life, and a lady with history and roots right here in the UK. So we're going to give a warm wildcard return to Sam Holt, who you can follow on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt. Good afternoon, Sam. How are you?
I'm great. I love getting to chat with you guys. I just feel so at home on your show because, like I said, my dad is from England. He's from Oxford. And so whenever I get to chat with you, lovely gentlemen, I just feel a warm welcome and hug by your tone of voice. I'm like, yes, this is familial for me. I love it. So I'm not one of those people, though, that gets lost in accents, what my dad always runs into. We go out to eat to dinner and then he's ordering something and they're like, what did you say? They just don't listen to what he's talking about because he's got an accent. And they're like, when did you move here? He's like, in the 80s, like forever ago. Like, so he still happens to have his accent, but like everyone, everywhere we go, they're just like, when did you get here? And he's like, 1980. Like, can I order my food? like let's get past this and just have a good, meal or whatever. But no, I love talking to you guys. I can't wait to dive into all of these players that we have listed out for today.
Yeah, we're actually making it really tricky for you today, Sam. So appreciate getting you on and making it tough for your knowledge. It's going to be great to work through the show today. And you're actually perfect this show because it's all about projecting for the future. And if you remember, if anyone's been listening for quite a while, Sam was on last March time. She correctly predicted Devontae Adams to the Raiders. So she's clearly able to predict the future. So, whatever she says today, take it as gospel.
Oh no, no pressure. So much pressure. You guys are setting the bar way too high for me right now. But yes, you definitely gave me such a challenge, considering that this is my first show for the season. So I'm glad that it's again with you guys, but also, bit rusty. You got to dust this off to get ready for the season. So making me sweat already, crying out loud.
Hottest day of the year, isn't it? So we're going to be discussing rookies versus veterans. They're very close in ADP. And we're going to be getting Sam to tell us which player she prefers in Dynasty and why. And first player, you know what we do. We start at QB as always. So we've got a fantastic one to begin with. Anthony Richardson versus Deshaun Watson. Who have you got?
This one is tough because I get why you paired these two together, because similar in terms of ranking. I think they're going back and forth in a lot of different lists that I'm seeing. But not only in Dynasty, but just in a lot of 2 quarterback formats that I've been drafting in, I want to get someone that's going to have rushing upside and give me that floor. And for me, that's going to be Anthony Richardson this year. The way that the Colts are set up is perfect to bring him in-house and to run alongside Jonathan Taylor and just to have him be incredibly effective in the backfield. So for me, I'm going to lean with him. I made the mistake of being out on Justin Fields too early, and I don't want to do that this season. I feel like Richardson could be that guy that by week 4, you're like, when is he going to switch on the Jets? And it happens. So for me, I'm going to wait. I'm going to grab someone like Richardson. I feel like I can get him a little bit later than Watson as well. Maybe others are going to be more apt for year 2. Watson, he's going to have it clicking with the offense. I don't want to wait for that dumpster fire to catch on again. So for me, I'm just going to go with something new, something fresh, and I'll be excited to see what Richardson does for the Colts.
Yep, I'm in agreement. For me, there's 2 places between them. They're in my tier 4. I've got Anthony Richardson, quarterback 9, Deshaun Watson, quarterback 11. So in the same tier for me, but very much like Sam said, I'm looking for that rushing floor because I think there's been a shift in the NFL, well, in terms of fantasy, the last 3 or 4 years that goes towards rushing. We saw it with Lamar Jackson and what he bought that 2019 year was just incredible. And Anthony Richardson, I'm just going to be all in. I'm just a bit later to the party than what you were, Kev, because you were quarterback 1 all the way, where I was leaning CJ Stroud before the NFL draft. But it just gives you such a safe floor. You got to look at Daniel Jones last year, not the best passer in the NFL, but top 10 quarterback, top 9 quarterback last year, just because of the rushing that he brings. Justin Fields as well. He had 0 weapons to throw to last year, but became top 5 in points per game just because of that rushing. The floor is so high. And I just think as long as Anthony Richardson's not a complete bust in that he just cannot throw to his wide receivers, which I think he's got a decent set of wide receivers there, then I just think he's safe for at least 2 or 3 years. I think they obviously drafted him incredibly high. Shane Steichen's going to turn him into the next Jalen Hurts. And yeah, I just think you're getting such a safe prospect. I think, as Sam mentioned, you're not even having to take him ahead of Deshaun Watson. I've seen Deshaun Watson in startups go at the turns, sort of the 1-12, 2-1. And Anthony Richardson is, for a lot of drafts, has fallen to the mid-second round, even to the late second round. So I'm happy to, if you don't need to take quarterback in round 1, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and then pair him up with Anthony Richardson in the second round. I think that's an incredibly exciting young pairing for Dynasty going forward. So for me, it's Richardson. They're in the same tier, but I just think Deshaun Watson, he's not a guy that I want to root for. He was incredibly rusty last year. He's 27 years old. I'm just going to take the young toy that I think has got at least 3 years of being safe, and he's got such a high ceiling. And this time next year, he could be ranked the top 5 Dynasty quarterback.
Yeah, I think as well, like, I've done quite a few startups this off-season, and both these guys, they go in a wide range of places. So I've seen them both go in the first. I've seen sort of the 1-2 turn. I've actually seen Watson. I got him at the 2-12 in a draft. So I think it's really a really tough one to begin. You'll know that I'm a massive Richardson fan, but actually I went Watson on this regard because I tend to go for veterans more. which you'll establish that through this show. But it's really close. I can't really have a go which either way you go because I do love Richardson. It's on the basis that I think Watson can get back to what he was as a rusher, and that the Cleveland weather's not as bad as it can be at certain times. But we'll have to see how that one works out. All I will say though is both you guys have picked Richardson. I would say if there's people in your league that maybe don't like Watson because of the off-field stuff, you've got less places to trade him away. So that is one factor maybe that if you're taking him, you've got less people you can sell him to, which means you might get a bad price if you're having to look to move off him. So just one thing to bear in mind, but I can't really get too upset with you both picking Richardson and upsetting me to begin with. So we're going to come on to the next QB versus battle, I guess. So this one is Will Levis versus Brock Purdy. Who's your pick, Sam?
I'm going to stay with Brock Purdy on this one, and it probably is an unpopular opinion, but I'm just looking at the situation that we have for the Titans, and this isn't a quarterback situation where, one, we know Ryan Tannehill isn't the answer of the Titans, but I don't know that the Titans 100% believe that, because it seemed like last year was his year to have a short leash and maybe Malik Willis get the start over him. And that really didn't happen. We saw Willis a little bit when Tannehill was dinged up, but it was never an immediate transfer of, okay, we're abandoning you completely. And I think because of that, I can't buy in on Levis yet. I don't want to wait until week 8 when they're saying, okay, let's just see what Levis has got. That's not going to put me in a position as a dynasty owner and just as a fantasy manager to feel good about going for someone that people might be jumping on the 3rd or the 4th in quarterback heavy leagues, to just have roster player that's not going to get time. So for me, I'd rather stay with Brock Purdy. I know he's coming off an injury and you're not going to get him all 17 games, but you're still going to get him more than you're going to get Will Levis. And he's got obviously much more chemistry going with the team. The Niners were his to own and to rule last season, and he did great with them. So he's got the full buy-in of the team. You're going to have some ebb and flow with Levis when he gets the start. Plus, this isn't an incredibly talented receiving group for him. Treylon Burks is fine, but then behind him, you've got Westbrook Achane, Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore. You're going to have to figure out who these guys are, because I have to figure out who these guys are. You're just not excited. And on the opposite side too, for Levis, he's not got that huge rushing potential necessarily that everyone else has. He only had 2 rushing touchdowns last season. So you're looking at him compared to someone like Richardson, who's got the huge rushing floor upside. If Levis had more of that on him, maybe I'd be more like, okay, they're going to mix it up. But also, the Titans offense runs through Derrick Henry. They don't need Tannehill to be a stud. They just need him to be progressing the ball forward with Derrick Henry and through him. So this is an awkward situation for Will Levis. I think unless the Titans completely decide to rebuild and they move Henry and they restructure some stuff and get him some additional pieces, I don't want to wait on a project like that. I'd rather have Brock Purdy, who's in the system, and the Niners are likely going to make the playoffs again with him. So I want that push.
Yeah, I know in the last battle, I guess, I made a comment that, oh yeah, veterans all the way. I'm a liar. I am lying. So I do apologise to the audience for lying. But yeah, I'm taking Levis on this one. And now it's really close again. But I think with Purdy, if he wouldn't have got injured the last game, I would comfortably be taking Purdy. My concern with Purdy is not what he's shown. It's what Kyle Shanahan is, in my eyes. I think because he always comes across as the smartest guy in the room, he shows no loyalty to the running backs over the years, when it was like Mostert as the main man one year, then Elijah Mitchell. I'm hoping it's not the same at QB, but I just think that he gets a buzz out of looking smart. Now, could it be the reclamation product of Trey Lance? Potentially. I have a sneaky feeling that he might want to get Sam Darnold in there and look like an absolute legend, which it's gross to think about. But I think he's got a massive ego. Obviously, I don't know the guy, but that's just my thoughts from afar. Levis, I think he's a gross prospect. I'm not a fan of the player, but I think it's an unknown. It's a lottery ticket. I don't feel great about picking Levis, but that's where I've got on this one. but maybe Ali, you can split the bill.
Yes, so it's 2-0 to us. Sorry, Kev. I'm on the Brock Purdy side. And I mean, they're literally back to back in my rankings: 26 for Purdy and 27 for Levis. I just feel better about it, especially this week, because DeAndre Hopkins visited the Titans, which if they're going for a rebuild, they're not bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. That tells me that organization believes that they can still win this year, and I think they can probably still make the playoffs because they're in a weak division. So yeah, I just think you're possibly not even going to see Will Levis for this year. Ryan Tannehill's still a half decent quarterback. He's still probably above average. And I think that organization wants to win. So I think you could be a year out from seeing Will Levis. Brock Purdy, that Shanahan has come out recently and said, if he's healthy, he is the starter week 1. So that tells you that he's going to be the starter. I don't think there's going to be anything silly unless he cannot make week 1. And if he does, we know how good Brock Purdy was for that 7-8 game stretch until he got injured. He's just a fine sort of mid quarterback 2 with a ceiling where he could possibly reach a high quarterback 2. I'll take that over the unknown of Will Levis and the fact that we probably won't see him for, I say, at least 12 games this year, perhaps even more.
Yeah, I think, first of all, whichever QB lands in the 49ers starting spot, if they maintain that role beyond the season, you're getting a massive value if it's Purdy, if it's Lance, if it's Sam Darnold. So, yeah, if you're right with Purdy, you're going to be laughing your head off because his value is going to increase so much. But, yeah, 2-0 to you guys, I guess. So we're going to move on to the third battle now, and we've got the rookie, Devon Achane, and the young veteran, Rachaad White. Who have you got on this one, Sam?
I'm going to have to stick with the veterans on this one. I don't think I've picked veterans this entire show if I go back through my notes, but I'm going to stick with the trend. I'm going to stay with Rachaad White simply because obviously the Buccaneers are going to be a completely different team this season. We do not see Tom Brady with them this year. Sad face. It's not happening. We're seeing them being led by Baker Mayfield. And what's going to save Baker Mayfield is having a pass catching running back like Rachaad White that he can count on, who is the number 1 right out the gate, as opposed to Achane, who is dealing with a very crowded backfield. It's going to be tough for him to see those touches. I mean, there's even still talk about Dalvin Cook going to the Dolphins. So who is going to be the number 1? I just don't want to deal with a muddy running back by committing mess. I'd rather save that for later. I get why in Dynasty specifically, we get super excited about rookie running backs because we just want them to hit so badly. But this is one where I think you can take the time to wait on him. I think there's going to be enough. If you're going to see some turnover in the season, maybe you grab him off waivers later. I don't think that he's someone that you need to necessarily jump and get an early pick on because he's likely going to get dropped in the first 4 weeks anyways, because people are going to find reasons to free up their bench depth. So for me, I'm going to wait on someone like Achane and just stick with someone that I know what I'm getting in Rachaad White. Great passing down back. Baker Mayfield's going to need him to save him a lot. This offensive line should be improved. Ryan Jensen is doing better. They made an offensive line pickup in the draft this season. So the Bucs overall line should improve, should therefore allow for White to be more successful. And he's going to have to be because they're going to be probably playing from behind quite a bit.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm a Buccaneers fan, but this isn't a homer pick. I've got Rachaad White, run about 18.
They're my team, but it's not a homer pick. That sounds like what I normally say anytime a Steelers player comes. I'm like, it's not a homer pick, but
but I have some reasoning, and I just think, I think overall, I think that the ceiling for Achane, I think is probably higher than Rachaad White. But I think Rachaad White is going to be there through opportunity. I just think there's going to be so many passes go his way. There's really not much behind him. Keyshawn Vaughn, Sean Tucker, players like that behind him right now. I think Rachaad White has been building himself up. I think he's put on an extra few kilograms. I think he's going to have to be the offense. We know Baker Mayfield will have to dump that ball off because, a lot depends on the offensive line. I think the offensive line could be improved. I like the second round pick. And I think obviously with Ryan Jensen coming back, Tristan Wirfs moving to left tackle. I think it should be improved this year. Devon Achane, unfortunately, because I do have plenty of shares of Devon Achane, I think he's going to be behind Dalvin Cook for this year. But there's still that third down role, and I think he is going to be incredibly explosive, exciting to watch. And I still want him on my rosters because I don't think Dalvin Cook's a long-term play. I mean, he's not there anyway at the minute. So if Devon Achane gets more, if he's sort of a 1A, 1B on that team as he is right now, I think he's got a great opportunity. But just for me, I'm just going to take the more certainty in Rachaad White. I know what his role is going to be this year. And probably going forward again next year because we're going to be in rebuild again. We're probably going to get a top 5 pick. A lot of people are saying we're going to get a top 5 pick. So I don't think running back is going to be high on our priority list for next year. So I'll go with Rachaad White and what the floor that he brings, even though it might not be the highest ceiling, just that safe floor.
Yeah, I'm calling collusion here because it's 3-0 to you guys. And I, to be honest, like if I think about it hard, I could have picked White because I'm an Achane guy, absolutely well above consensus on Achane. Rookie drafts, startup drafts, I'm taking him everywhere. Dalvin Cook, he's starting to scare me a little bit. Like, I really want to find out where he lands. I'm not fussed about the free agents like Zeke, Fournette, etc. Where they land, I'm not as concerned. But I think Dalvin Cook is someone that wherever he lands, he's gonna be the main man. If he lands in Dallas, I'm not massive on Tony, as highest on Tony Pollard as I would have been. If he lands in Miami, Achane's done for this season for me. It's as much as I like him. So please, Dalvin, sign somewhere that's not going to affect any of our dynasty teams, which is very unlikely.
It's going to affect everyone. It doesn't matter where he goes. It's going to take someone's value. And if someone's doing a dynasty draft right now, they're going to pull someone like Tony Pollard, great example that you brought up, and they're going to be like, no. And even if he goes to the Dolphins, oh, Mostert, no. Like, you're just watching all of their ADPs, like, and their just value absolutely plummet. I feel like the Broncos is another one that comes up, and then you're like, oh, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it's just your dynasty teams are sweating until Cook's actually found his position. So, yeah, big worry with that. I think if you are playing short-term thinking, White is the player. I've got no doubt that White will outscore Achane this upcoming season, but it's the prospect. I have them at different levels. That's why I went the Achane route. And now we're going to move on to the next running back battle as such. So we've got Kendre Miller versus Isiah Pacheco. Are we going to finally get one we agree on, Sam?
I don't know. I think the reason why, so I'm going to go with Pacheco, and I don't love my pick. I'm going to start off with that. I could feel like I could be convinced otherwise, but I'm going to go with Pacheco because there's just so many question marks for me with Kendre Miller and the Saints that make me concerned. And as a dynasty manager, I want to be risk averse. I don't want to jump into something that could be muddy or concerning. So I know what I'm getting with someone like Isiah Pacheco. I know where I'm drafting him. I know I'm not going to have to spend too much for that. So he's really just depth for me wherever I'm grabbing him. But someone like Kendre Miller, you're thinking, okay, well, if Kamara gets suspended, he's going to be able to jump up. I would totally agree with that if they didn't go out and grab the touchdown vulture king himself in Jamal Williams, who all he does is gobble up goal line touches. That's what wakes him up in the morning. It's his healthy breakfast. Breakfast of Champions is touchdowns for him every morning on Sundays. So for me, if they hadn't made that move, I would be more in on Miller. But because of that, Jamal Williams is still young. He's got the juice. He knows what he needs to do to get those goal line touches. And looking at someone like Derek Carr, that's what he's going to lean on him to do, just to do those goal line carries, because he's got an amazing receiving core with Chris Olave and Michael Thomas, even Rashid Shaheed. Juwan Johnson looked really good as well last year. So he's got some really good pass catchers, and he's not going to have to, like earlier when I said Baker Mayfield's going to have to lean on his running back to trust him to do some things. He's not going to have to do that. Carr's going to want to air it out. He just came back from playing with Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. He likes to air out the ball. So I'm concerned that Kendre Miller's not going to get his steps in this season that's going to really produce for you. So I'm going to go with just a tried and true, just I know what I'm getting. I'm going to stay with Pacheco on this one.
Yeah, I think it's now 4-0. Yeah, I think partially Pacheco. I'm a little bit burnt as an Eagles fan. He had a great Super Bowl, so maybe there's a bit of tape lock there to fade him a little bit.
Secret bias going across the whole show today. Like,
I know.
I'm not biased, but I am.
Indeed, maybe we'll come across maybe some more bias something a little bit later on. But yeah, I think with Pacheco, just the fact that he's 7th rounder and a draft capital guy.
And he's got himself excited.
Oh no! I was wondering if that was me or my internet, or if that was Kev.
No, Kev has a habit of doing that occasionally. Perhaps he got a little bit too angry about Isiah Pacheco's Super Bowl performance.
I can understand. We've all been burned. These things happen.
He's still incredibly salty about what happened. But yeah, I'll take over from what Kev was saying. So Kev is clearly on Kendre Miller, which is maybe a bit of a surprise for me because he didn't like him as a prospect. But I think I didn't like him as a prospect either. But I think you have to take him where the market are high on Kendre Miller. So personally, for me, in like my rookie drafts, I've been taking Kendre Miller probably about ADP because I think a lot of people like him, and I think I can sell him on to those people later on. But for me, a bit similarly like Isiah Pacheco, I just know what role he's going to have for this year on the Super Bowl champions. I know he's going to have that first down, second down role with the Chiefs. He's going to be in for plenty of touchdowns on the ground. So I'm going to pick that over Kendre Miller and the possibility that Jamal Williams, as you mentioned, is going to take away all of those rushing touchdowns that he did last year for DeAndre Swift. So yeah, I think personally, running back for me, I like to play more in a sort of 2-year window because the turnover for running backs is so high nowadays, whereas wide receivers, you can project them for 3 to 4 years. But running backs are far more volatile. So I'll go for Pacheco and the role that he's got this season coming up with the Chiefs. I think is going to be absolutely fine as you sort of running back 3 on your team. You don't even have to take him that high, as you mentioned. So yeah, I'm in agreement again. So 4-0, 5-0, lost count by now.
This is just where, this is the show where you and I agree on the players and why we probably shouldn't draft together because we're going to go after the same players and it's going to go from friendship to being mad at each other. So let's just not do that.
There would be a lot of sniping going on, definitely.
So much sniping.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the wide receiver position and hopefully Kev will drop back in when he can. And we'll talk about the battle, which is Quentin Johnston against Jerry Jeudy. So the rookie versus the veteran. Sam, what side are you on that argument?
I really wanted to pick Quentin Johnston. I will say that. Like, I didn't, but I wanted to. He's obviously a big body receiver, over 200 pounds, close to 6'4", and he's going to the Chargers. So he's got Justin Herbert as quarterback. You couldn't want more for that team. And I get why they took him. They needed that deep threat. Obviously, with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen being dinged up so much last season, they need that depth. But I'm concerned with Johnston's drops and his hands. He needs a year to work out the kinks in the system. And because he's going to be not just playing behind those 2 receivers, but he's got some stuff he needs to work out. He's still very young. I think he's just 21. I don't want to. There's other rookie receivers I would rather have in Dynasty right now, knowing that they're going to have immediate usage than Johnston. And for me, with Jerry Jeudy being the number 1 there for the Broncos, I'm not putting any faith in Russell Wilson. I'm putting all my faith in Sean Payton to fix that situation. I think he's the perfect coach to fix all the kinks that are happening there and to get everyone on the same page. And once that happens, we're going to have to etch a sketch last year because I think that that's going to solve a lot of the issues that Wilson was having with his connections with the receivers and his routes. And Jerry Jeudy's got amazing hands. He is amazing and was just absolutely hamstrung last year by crappy quarterback play. So for me, this year it has to be better because it can't get worse. So for me, I'm definitely going to stay with Jerry Jeudy of these two.
Yeah, so in agreement again, and very similar to what you said early on, in that I wanted to pick Quentin Johnston just because my guy in all of Dynasty is Justin Herbert. He's like a guy, I absolutely love him. I've got so much of him, and I want him on all my teams. And obviously, I like his weapons and that he can elevate any player. So Quentin Johnston, I think in a year's time, once I think either Keenan Allen moves on or Mike Williams moves on, I think it's going to be really exciting for fantasy. But for this year, I think he's easily going to be the third choice on that team, perhaps even fourth choice, because Austin Eckler is still going to get his targets as well. So I'll go with Jerry Jeudy, a guy that, as you mentioned, suffered because of the quarterback play last year. But when he was coming out as a rookie, he's talked in the same aspect as CeeDee Lamb. I mean, there wasn't much to choose between those two guys. He was a great prospect. The second half of last year, he really took a step forward, had some great games. I think he was top 10 in points per game the last sort of 6-7 games. With Sean Payton coming in, it's going to be incredibly exciting for him to be the number one option on that offense. And yeah, I think Quentin Johnston is a chance that his ceiling is probably as high as Jerry Jeudy, but I think this time next year with Jerry Jeudy, if he has a good year, could easily be a top 15, 16 dynasty wide receiver. I think, the ceiling is there for Jerry Jeudy, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, definitely love that. I mean, it's got to get better, right? It literally can't get worse for Jerry Jeudy. They can't.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
I honestly think the Broncos paid so much for Russell Wilson, but if Sean Payton, at the end of the day, they've paid so much for Sean Payton. If Russell Wilson if he's crappy this year, Sean Payton's going to say, I don't want Russell Wilson on this team, and he'll find another quarterback.
100%.
So I just think Jerry Jeudy's got the safe floor, and I think he's going to be awesome this year.
Yeah, no, love that.
And we've not got Kev to argue against us for Quentin Johnston, because Quentin Johnston is his guy as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll move on to the next wide receiver battle, which is Zay Flowers versus DJ Moore. So this is quite an exciting one. So Sam, what side of that argument are you sitting on?
Well, I'm going to stay with the veterans. Apparently, I have a trend today, but it is what it is. And my reason for it is, how many times have we gotten excited about the Ravens grabbing a rookie receiver and we're thinking, this is their year? It has not been their year. Let's stop trying to make fetch happen. Let's stop trying to make these young rookie wide receivers for the Ravens work. Let's stop, because last year, their leader of receiving yards was Mark Andrews, and it's probably going to be Mark Andrews again. And now they've also got OBJ in the mix, who is probably not going to be their number 2 in receiving, but he's going to eat into a lot of those targets. Could Zay Flowers have a decent year? Sure. But, you're also got Rachaad Bateman there. It's a little bit muddy for a system that isn't so pass happy. It's just not. So, I'm a huge Lamar Jackson lover. Huge. I think he's fantastic. And I think they should have paid him way sooner. I think that the Ravens are messing up there. As a Steelers fan, I'm mad for Lamar Jackson. He deserves the money. As soon as he went into our division, I was like, no, I love this guy. Why do we have to be enemies? No, I still love him and I want him to succeed. But I don't think that this is going to overnight turn into a situation where Zay Flowers is going to end up with over 1,000 receiving yards this season. I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to stay where I think that the numbers are going to go. I'm going to go with DJ Moore, who ends up in a great situation. DJ Moore has been a phenomenal receiver with absolutely garbage quarterback play. He's been phenomenal with terrible quarterbacks. And now he's got Justin Fields, who obviously had a great upswing towards the middle of last season, had amazing rushing yards. He's got a decent arm as well, but he was missing it with a lot of those receivers. Sorry, Chase Claypool didn't work out. He's still not going to work out. Sorry, I'm glad that he's not a Steeler anymore. It's just, he's such a better fit for him. And I think because Moore is one of those receivers that can make a catch out of anything, again, because he's dealt with terrible quarterbacks, he's going to work really well with someone who's always on the run, like Fields is. So for me, I got to stay with DJ Moore here. I'm super excited about this fit. I cannot wait to see them go.
Yeah, I have to say that Chase Claypool trade has to go down as one of the best in the modern era. To get
We killed it.
pick 1 of round 2 was absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we're going to disagree for the first time, and I've not even got a strong argument, because I can't argue that DJ Moore, I think, is going to have a good year. I don't think he's going to have a great year. I think a lot of people are expecting him to have a massive potential top 8 wide receivers year, and I just think the stats tell you otherwise. And the Chicago Bears, they passed the lowest amount in the NFL last year by quite a considerable margin. Their run to pass ratio was massively towards the run. It's obviously going to skew a little bit more towards the pass, but I think even you're talking 20%, I think it only brings you back to the league medium, which is going to be a massive increase. And yeah, DJ Moore is going to be the number 1 target. He's easily the most talented wide receiver on that roster. He's an amazing wide receiver that just hasn't had a quarterback to play with yet. So we'll be interesting to see how he plays with Justin Fields. And actually, the Baltimore wide receiver room, I've always called it the wide receiver graveyard, because, as you mentioned, Mark Andrews is the wide receiver 1 on that team. It's always going to be the first target. I just think Zay Flowers, for me, I was really excited about him as a prospect, as a rookie. Love the fact that he's got first-round draft capital. Don't love the landing spot, really, but in terms of Dynasty, I always usually swing talent over situation. So just going to bank on the talent of Zay Flowers. I think Rachaad Bateman, I think this could be his last year. OBJ is probably a 1-year thing. Is he going to be healthy? So I think Zay Flowers is going to show enough this year to stay relevant, and then going to kick on for 2024 onwards. But DJ Moore's going to outperform him this year. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And he is a really, really awesome wide receiver. So to me, I think I've got them really close. Zay Flowers, wide receiver 24, DJ Moore, wide receiver 28, which is probably too low. But I've got a tier of 17 wide receivers in the same tier, because they're all just like, I can't really choose one over the other. They're so bunched together. But I'm going to lean. We're going to disagree. We need to disagree on one of them. So
it had to happen. It had to happen eventually. You know, I'm sure there's other things we disagree on. Like, okay, like what's you know that my dad's British and I have an affinity for English candy. What is your favorite, your 101 of like English chocolates or candies?
For me, it's probably Snickers bar. Do you have Snickers bar in the?
Yeah, we have Snickers, but that's so basic. You guys have so many other bars. Really? That's your favorite? You have so many other ones that are fantastic. Like, I don't get it. No, like even down to the chocolate buttons that you guys do is just better than chocolate over here. Like,
why is that?
We have trash chocolate
different?
here. I don't understand. It's because Hershey's decided to like have an embargo on all good chocolate, and they don't allow Cadbury's anything to like cross the line. And we're like, hey, I know what the good stuff tastes like. Get me the good stuff. But anytime I go to England, I always put on 5 to 10 pounds because I eat so much damn chocolate every single day that I'm there. It's terrible, but also
it's
amazing.
Kind of a problem. But yeah, you can't knock it. English chocolate is amazing.
It's the 101. All right, I digress. That'll be my only other English digression of fandom. But let's get to the next one.
Yeah, we're talking of amazing. We've got an amazing tight end coming up in the rookie Dalton Kincaid up against the postman Pat Freiermuth. So, Sam, which side of that argument are you sitting on?
Now, of course, I'm going to say I'm not biased because I have a Steelers sign behind me, but I'm going to go with Pat Freiermuth. But I've got reasons. Yes, Dalton Kincaid is a fantastic prospect. However, could he have gone to a more crowded backfield than the Bills? He's behind Dawson Knox, who is no chump. Dawson Knox is fantastic last season as well for a tight end. And the hardest part for any rookie tight ends is going into a situation where the guy ahead of him has immediate usage. If anything, Kincaid's going to end up being used as a blocking tight end, and you don't need that. If blocks got you points in fantasy, it would be a different story, but you don't. So I'm frustrated for him. I feel like he's someone that maybe will get some good stuff out of him, maybe year 2 or year 3. Maybe Knox gets traded and then he finally moves up. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with him. But to me, he's just gone to a muddy situation. I want to stay with Pat Freiermuth, who was a target favorite for Kenny Pickett, who, was getting his feet wet last season. He had to get fully into the mix. And this year is just going to be that much better for Pickett, as well as the rest of the receivers for the Steelers. I think it's going to be a much better year going forward. He's been a good red zone threat. I'm going to stay with where I know targets are going, and I've got to stay with Pat Freiermuth on this one. Hey, Kev's back.
I was just getting fed up of getting double teamed, so I had to take a time out and cool down. I'm back.
Center yourself.
Center myself.
We thought it was the Super Bowl. It was still the Super Bowl hangover, Kev, that you're a bit salty about.
I don't blame you. We're passionate about our teams. I understand. I get it. I just picked Pat Freiermuth, not just because I love my Steelers, but because I feel like Dalton Kincaid's situation behind Dawson Knox is so messy. It's hard to imagine a rookie tight end getting that much usage. If it was a different position situation, maybe, but it's just not going to happen for him this year.
I mean, I've come back and it's the first one we've got right. So,
hey, there we go.
Let's have it. Do you want to take away Kincaid first time, and I'll come back to Postman time?
Yeah, so we actually had our first disagreement with the last one, Kev. You missed that one, but then we agreed that British chocolate is so much better than American chocolate. So, we have to
back together.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to disagree on this one. Dalton Kincaid, I think everybody's getting a little bit too excited about Dalton Kincaid. He's been taken too high in rookie drafts. I'm seeing the 108 ahead of Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston. I think it's just absolutely ludicrous for me. Dalton Kincaid is a very good prospect. I had him exactly up there with Michael Mayer, who's a really good tight end prospect. I think the situation he's landed in is actually decent. I think obviously Dawson Knox is going to be there. Dawson Knox is going to be really annoying to Dalton Kincaid owners because he's going to catch a ton of touchdowns again like he did last year. Kincaid is going to do all the dirty work. But I just think Kincaid has been lined up in the slot role, which I think is a great role on this Bills offense. He's obviously tied with elite Josh Allen, top 3 dynasty quarterback, amazing guy. I think Kincaid is explosive. I think he's the missing piece in this offense. The ceiling's there, but to be honest, I've got these both back to back in my rankings in a tier of 2. Really like Pat Freiermuth. I'm trying to get him wherever I can because I just think a lot of people, you can probably trade Dalton Kincaid for Pat Freiermuth straight up and maybe even get a little bit on top because people are just forgetting how good Pat Freiermuth is in this offense. And I think if Kenny Pickett can take a step forward, I think Pat Freiermuth can even take a step forward again and probably leap a tier maybe this time next offseason. So they're back to back. I'm going to go with the shiny new toy in Kincaid because I loved him pre-draft. Love the lander spot. Love the fact that Bills traded up for him. I'm excited for him. I think he could finally break that rookie tight end mold of being disappointing in year 1.
Give me Pat Freiermuth. Let's have it. Yeah, I love that. I think, first of all, he's coming as a new dude into the NFL and he's had 2 pretty solid seasons, to be fair, considering target competition, Deontay. We won't mention Claypool, but George Pickens, obviously, there's been QB issues. Najee Harris, obviously, is a big part of that as well. So for him to put those numbers with those guys there, I think is really impressive, and it shows that it is a hit that we don't have to worry about what can he be. I think with Kincaid, there's potentially a higher ceiling, but definitely a lower floor with the unknown and with him being a rookie tight end as well. So it's partly down to Freiermuth's a prospect. It's partly down to tight end position, why I'm leaning Freiermuth on this one. Now, I'm not a Kenny Pickett believer, a fan, but I think tight end is probably a position where it's less affected by poor QB play. So I think he's really safe. He's someone that is in a range I don't tend to target tight ends in startups for the fact that I find it really difficult that you're going to win your league with Pat Freiermuth if you're tight end. You want to be aiming higher. But I do think at value, at cost, I would prefer Freiermuth. And if I'm looking good for a title push, I can go up and get one of the big dudes at the top. Maybe because he's a younger guy, he can maybe go after one of the older guys, Kittle, Kelsey, throw in some future picks on top to make that move. And if a rebuilding side has got a Kittle or a Kelsey. Freiermuth and picks is going to look quite appealing in my eyes. So it's great that I've come back and we've finally agreed, Sam, because I was getting a complex. I'm not going to lie.
Goodness. Well, I'm glad we fixed that.
Indeed. And we're coming to the final player comparison of the show today, keeping it at tight end with Sam LaPorta versus Evan Engram. Can we finish on a flurry?
I don't know. This might be the first one where I pivot, and it's going to be. I'm going to go with Sam LaPorta over Evan Engram. And I think it's a lot of what you kind of just covered, actually. When I'm looking at these two tight ends and I'm looking at where I'm going to take tight end in Dynasty specifically, I'm going to try and draft a tight end higher than what Engram is sitting at. And I'm going to go ahead and grab Sam LaPorta as my project for the year. And I like him as my project for the year. I mentioned projects not being something I like to wait on, but he's not walking into a crowded tight end room. Ahead of him right now is Brock Wright. He has every possibility of beating him out at the tight end one position. And the Lions are a team that are making all the right moves with young pieces to put Jared Goff in the best situation they possibly can. And Sam LaPorta would fit perfectly with Goff's style of play. So I think that that's a really good marriage there. And on the other side for Evan Engram, what everyone seems to be forgetting, and I'm hoping that no one remembers, so all my drafts I can go ahead and snake whoever I want, but Calvin Ridley is back. And I don't know if you guys remember, but he's a target monster, an absolute beast. With Trevor Lawrence, let's go. That's what's going to be the fun, exciting bit. I feel like Evan Ingram's going to get forgotten by the wayside through this other rest of the receiving core that they have. Plus, they've got Travis Etienne, who's also a pass-catching running back. Like, there's some parts that when an offense gets going, people get forgotten. And I'm concerned that you're going to be taking someone like Engram too high, banking on him being a red zone threat, what he's ending up not going to be. And ETN gets those touches, or Calvin Ridley gets a touchdown. I just feel like touchdowns are going to start to sprinkle away for Engram, and at such a volatile position as tight end is, unless you just grab Travis Kelce off the top and you know what you're going to get, you have to go with the floor. And I would rather go with a healthier floor with someone else in a better situation than Engram higher up in my draft, and then have my little project on the side here, Sam LaPorta. And then when that week 6 hits and I watch him start to really get in the mix and the Lions get going, because they were amazing contenders last season, and I think the same's going to happen this year, I'd rather have that project cooking in the crock pot on the side and be like, oh, by the way, bam, and then throw him out there for a good week and be really excited.
Yeah, I think LaPorta, it actually translates as the door, and I think the door is wide open for him to make a splash early on as a rookie, with Jameson Williams out of the lineup, with some other new pieces on that offense, Marvin Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Really like him, but maybe his touches will come stronger towards the end of his rookie season. So yeah, obviously I went Engram because I'm a veteran guy. I like the veteran tight ends as on the previous one, but you make some great points. The fact that Ridley's coming back, that's going to affect someone, and it's probably going to be Engram. I guess the reason I picked Engram over LaPorta is thinking first year, second year. That's why I've gone for Engram. But yeah, you can spin a story, I guess, where Engram goes after this season as well. Mm-hmm. He's only got that 1 year deal. LaPorta, I think, a great prospect. I didn't expect him to go as high as he did, so that's an indication that the Lions really like him. A lot of tight end gods out there, like Sam LaPorta as well. So yeah, I'm not going to begrudge you too much on this. I think pure talent, I think Evan Engram was mega as a prospect, but I think if we're talking talent, it's very close for me. I think in a couple of years' time, it's a no-brainer. So yeah, Evan Engram was my pick, but I'm not going to get too hung up over a prospect I really like as well.
Yeah, it's got to be Sam LaPorta for me. The young gun, again, I think is a guy that's in an opportunity to break the rookie tight end mold. I think there's possibly immediate production there with Jameson Williams suspended for 6 games. I think there's not that many pass catchers outside of the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, but I think Sam LaPorta, I mean, there's not much competition there in the tight end room, really, is there? Brock Wright and whoever else they've got as tight end. And you both really mentioned it, that Evan Engram, 1-year deal, he's got more competition for targets. And then after the year, if they can't afford to re-sign him, there's certainly many places that he could go that would be really bad for his fantasy stock. So there's just a lot of unknown with Evan Engram. I'll go with LaPorta, where I think the arrow is firmly pointing up on a really exciting Lions offense going forward. So yeah, I'll take the rookie.
Indeed, and that brings us to the end of our rookies versus vets section of the show today. Just to clarify, Sam picked 6 of the same picks as Ali, so definite collusion there. 6-2.
We have a group chat you're not aware of.
Smart analyst. Smart analyst, but yeah, I think we'll look to get things right on this next part, the Fantasy Wildcard selection. So this is where we're going to get Sam to pick her Fantasy Wildcard, the player that will improve the Dynasty value their most in 2023. Obviously, we're not letting Sam get off of it too easy. You're not allowed to pick a host of players that we've had on previous shows.
So mean. They're so mean. The list that you guys gave me of players I couldn't pick, I was like, well, this sucks. Like, I've really got to go deep here now. Like, you just took all the players and I'm like, oh, well, this one, no. This one, no. Goodness, you made it really tough, but I'm excited to talk about this one.
Indeed. And because we're kind, we're going to let you have 1.5 or 2 picks on this. So, so yeah, give us your Fantasy Wildcard selections.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Jordan Love to be the wild card this year. And it kind of feels like a bit of a weird pick because it feels like everybody left the Packers just based on all the players that ended up back on the Jets. And the Jets just took all the Packers and now they're the new New York Packers is the big, lovely joke here. But I want to remind everyone that there's still a lot of really good talent left in Green Bay. And Jordan Love has been being schooled by Aaron Rodgers. And he's, not an absolute dope at the position. He's going to be just fine. And what's great for a young quarterback like that is to have someone like Aaron Jones as your pass catching running back that's going to save you. And that's going to give you those little dink and dunks. It's going to give you those quick passing touchdowns. He's still there. He's been fantastic. Romeo Doubs looked great last season. Christian Watson was coming on finally. So you've got this young, talented group that I think is actually going to be super successful behind someone like Jordan Love. And he's going to have a lot of different opportunities to get the ball out quickly to all of these amazing players. So for me, I think when you look at Dynasty and I look at the quarterback position specifically, I love to have depth at my quarterback position because too many times I've drafted players and quarterbacks have gone down in the preseason and other players have gotten injured. And for Dynasty, especially 2 quarterback, you need to have at least 3 quarterbacks rostered no matter what. Safety net for me is 4. And in multiple Dynasty leagues, I've had Jordan Love just sitting on the bench happily, just waiting. And I'm like, this is my time. And you know how it's my time? I've had about 4 different trade offers of people trying to take him from me. And I'm like, no, I am not walking away from this one. We're not leaving it. I'm letting the money stay on the table and we are going to keep rolling with Jordan Love. I'm going to hold on to that guy because I think he's going to be really good in this situation. And for me, when you look at a wild card, you want to see someone that's going to have a breakout because of stats, because of numbers. He's in a good position to get you those fantasy stats just based on the crowd that he's surrounded with.
Yeah, I really like where Jordan Love is sort of ranked in the market, the fact that there is plenty of room for growth. He is a bit of an unknown as well. So I could definitely paint a picture where he has a great season and we're talking about him sort of really high-end QB2 numbers if you can show some Konami upside. It's an offense that's young and it's going to grow as well. Despite having Aaron Jones as a mega receiver, you've got Watson who's got potential. You've got 2 rookie tight ends, Jaden Reed, the wide receiver as well. So lots to like. If Jordan Love can hit, it looked like he had a little bit of rapport with Watson on that game against the Eagles, the long touchdown. I think 3rd of his targets as well. So really excited for Jordan Love. I think it's a great pick. Ali, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not keen on, not thrilled with Jordan Love.
Yes,
I think it's just fine. A bit overpriced in the market, to be honest. I think he obviously signed a very team-friendly deal, which I think is not great for himself. I think he's obviously challenged himself. It could obviously work, and they re-sign him long-term after this year, blah, blah, blah. But quite equally, they could get away from him really easily after this season or next season if if he doesn't take them to where they want to go. So just for me, I'd rather pivot as my quarterback 2 or 3. I'd rather have an Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years or someone like that, a Jared Goff who's going behind him, or even swing for the fences with a Trey Lance just because of the upside. So it's a sell for me, but I can certainly see me being wrong with Jordan Love.
Super stuff. And Sam, because we're kind, we'll let you have a half a wildcard or a second choice fantasy wildcard section as well.
Yes, please. Thank you. I mean, because you guys took away so many players I couldn't pick before. I was like, I just really want to talk about this one guy. Can we talk about him? And I just want to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. We talked about him briefly when we were talking about Sam LaPorta and the Lions defense and the Lions team, just the way they're structured. Going into the draft, when they took to Jahmyr Gibbs, it was so confusing because we're like, wow, they really must just hate Swift. And then we found out they really do. And they shipped him off. And obviously Jamal Williams isn't there anymore. The touchdown monster that he is. So you've got this huge opportunity for someone like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's an amazing back. Passing game is there. He's only behind David Montgomery, who's only on a 1-year deal. So really Montgomery's there just to be the veteran and walk Gibbs through the moves and just get him used to the situation. So Montgomery's going to eat into it a little bit at the beginning, but I think, by week 5, maybe even sooner, Gibbs is going to have a very consistent role in a team that is good at running the ball. They did it consistently last year. That's why Jamal Williams went off the way that he did. He's going to be that vulture at the end zone, and I just cannot wait to see him. I feel like there's other running backs that are rookies that are getting a little bit more hype and people are getting excited about them. I feel like Gibbs is someone you can sneak away in a draft. I don't think he's going to go in the first. I don't think he's going to go in the second. I think he's going to go maybe in the 4th. He's going to go a bit late, just depending on the type of league that you're in. I feel like you can sneak him away late, and you'll be really happy that you do.
Indeed. I know Ali likes Jahmyr Gibbs, and I love Jahmyr Gibbs. He's my running back to in Dynasty. So, I think gets 5 stars for me, that one. So, well done on that. So I'm glad we've finished on a bang. So that brings us to the end of tonight's show where we've discussed rookies versus veterans. So, Sam, before you go, please remind the audience where they can find you and anything you'd like to plug.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt, and I am over on thefantasylife.com with those guys. They're amazing over there. There's some fun projects that I've been working really hard on for Fantasy Life, and I cannot wait for them to launch later this month. A little bit of a tease, but some exciting stuff that you guys will get to see and maybe purchase. I'll just give you that little hint. So some fun stuff happening over at Fantasy Life. Definitely check it out. Lots of amazing tools. They keep adding tools every single month to help you guys with drafts right now. Dwayne McFarland's top 150 players is legendary and such a huge help. So please go over there and check it out.
Excellent stuff. Thank you for coming on, Sam. We'll go to Ali for his final thoughts and I'll wrap it up.
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed the show. Thanks for coming on and spending your Sunday afternoon with us, Sam. Obviously, you're incredibly smart because you chose 6 out of 8, the same as me. We see eye to eye. So let's hope we don't end up in any drafts anytime soon together because we'll be sniping each other. But yeah, thank you for coming on. Excited to see your projects going forward. So thank you once again.
Yeah, just echoing what Alex said, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, tons of knowledge, great to chat with. Hurt my feelings along the way, but that's absolutely fine. I guess if you are looking to get into dynasty drafts, you want an idiot like me in the room with you, Sam, because I'll take all the players that you don't want, and we can both be happy with that. But really appreciate you coming back on. It's been a pleasure to spend a bit of time with you and get you you get us up to speed, but us get you up to speed as well for the new season. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thanks again for having me, guys. It's been so fun.
Good stuff. And thank you to the audience for tuning in. Be sure to follow and subscribe to us on Twitter and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard and at Wildcard Dynasty. Join us for our show every Wednesday. We've also got the stream-a-thon episodes playing throughout June as well. So they'll drop in later on in the week each week. Thank you once again. Have a good one. And we'll see you again very soon.